So I made enough money to retire at 57, I hope. But the important question is, why are you here? Yes, you. I mean, do you really think that hearing the story of some stranger is going to somehow reveal some hidden buried treasure map and allow you to dig it up this weekend and somehow follow in my footsteps? No, you don't, and neither do I. So the question is legitimate. Why are you here? And I would submit to you, my friends, that if you don't have an answer to that question, then that's your homework. But before you click away, let me put it in more simpler terms. If you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up somewhere else. I never would have pulled the trigger to retire early unless I had one day thought and soon after declared openly to my wife, I want another adventure. I could feel it in my bones, alongside the marrow, pushing out from inside. And eventually there was enough of it coursing through my skeletal system that I could no longer ignore it. And it was risky to say to her, honey, I want to retire in 5 years. Because once you give words like that oxygen, they're out there. And those kinds of statements can cause shockwaves through a spouse. But once I had, as soon as I had given breath to the idea, I took full embrace of it, held to it like a sailor to his coffee cup. Rough seas pounding. And yes, in a second, I will tell you how Tomo and I made it financially possible for us to retire early. But the thought I want you to take away from our time here together today is that if you don't have your coffee cup firmly in your hand, the rough seas will slide it further and further away from you. And spills often translate into regrets and lost dreams. So if you don't yet have one, all pretty and painted up, stained on the bottom from excessive use, you need to find your coffee, tea, or hell, even your cassava cup, if that's your jam. And don't let the damn thing out of your sight for 1 minute. And if you don't, if you deal with every challenge as it's a bend in the road rather than a fork, you will get here. But you have to believe in your dream, and you have to believe in yourself. Okay, so hi, my name's Ed. If you're new to the channel, welcome. 7 months ago, I walked away from a 6-figure salary, and along with my wife, Tomo, and our 2 rescue dogs, we packed up 12 suitcases, 2 dog crates, rented out our 2 homes in Tokyo, and moved here to Koh Samui, Thailand. Now, how did we do it? And no, neither one of us is a trust fund baby. Looking at my life from above, to me it looks like one of those little connect the dot games where you have a number above each dot and you go from dot 1 to dot 2 and so on, and eventually it forms a picture that you can recognize. Mine looks like a roadmap that led me here to Thailand. And every dot makes sense now. Some were straight ahead, and some were hard right turns. Right turn. And those turns can be difficult and sometimes very painful. But maybe it wasn't the right place or the right time for me, for that thing, that job opportunity, that relationship, that place to live. But those things can be hard to accept at the time. And let's face it, there are often a lot of external forces telling us that, wow, this job is great for you. This is a great opportunity. This is a great opportunity. Or, hang in there, Ed. She seems like a great gal. You two are so good. Hang in there. You two are such a great fit. So what might look or feel like failure at the time could actually be your subconscious telling you, this isn't the right place. This isn't the right job. This isn't the right relationship. And you're just not aware of it fully at the time. Big salary be damned, or I'm not who I want to be. And so this relationship isn't going to be a good fit for me long term. The point is, it didn't happen. And maybe that was a good thing. Okay, my first dot. I grew up in a broken family, and at the ripe old age of 18 and a few months, I signed a binding contract for 6 years and joined the US Navy. Why? Because I had nothing better going on at the time. And let me tell you, there's nothing like giving control over one's life to cause one to look at that gift very differently than one did previously. And although the Navy didn't turn out to be the best fit for me, it turned out to be a significant dot in that for the first time in my life, I was truly challenged. And for whatever reason, I developed a hard protective shell around myself. And I learned to survive in an environment that, for me, felt very stressful. Fast forward to year 5 of that contract. They took a risk on me, and to this day, they were the 2 most important educational years of my life. But it was a hard right turn from the path that I had been walking. And the bullet point I want to ask you to file away at this moment is this: don't be afraid to make drastic changes in your life. There's no way around it. Early retirement requires a leap of faith. Paint those words on your coffee cup and embrace them. For me, a pattern of bravery was developing, or stupidity, depending upon your tolerance for risk. After graduating in May of 1996, I moved to New York City in the hope of being a working actor. But one important dot I need to mention. I went home one summer. I worked at a retail clothing store at the local mall. One early dawn morning, I was riding my bicycle and coming up to a left-hand turn as to what was a T intersection. Having the right of way, I entered and began to make my turn. A car that didn't see me came to make a left-hand turn from that road and struck me pretty good. The driver immediately apologized and admitted fault. Drove me and my wrecked bike to work, gave me their contact information so that I could follow up later. I had some pain and began to see a chiropractor to try to figure out how serious the damage was. I was told that even with x-rays, it might be difficult to diagnose, as back injuries may not reveal themselves for many years to come. I was advised to speak to a lawyer. I did, but not wanting to take advantage of the situation, I took the lawyer's advice when he said, "Ed, as the driver has admitted fault, their insurance company will settle for a fair figure without any fight whatsoever." Weeks later, I found out that he was right. The insurance company came back with an offer to settle of $30,000, which I accepted without negotiation. So the lawyer gets 1/3. I used 1/3 to pay off all the credit card debt I had accumulated thus far as being a college student. With the remaining $10,000, a couple of years later, I took an extended vacation and, most importantly, I invested $5,000 in a mutual fund. P.S. I still deal with lingering back issues. Fast forward to 1999, and that $5,000 has doubled now to $10,000. By this time, I was living in New York and making pretty decent money. I bought the apartment for $80,000. At the time, a lot of my friends said, "Ed, you're crazy." I saw opportunity. Risk, yes, of course, but opportunity. I would sell the apartment in late 2014 for quite a bit more than I paid for it. By the time I sold it, I was living in Tokyo. I'd moved there in 2002 and had been renting out the apartment in Brooklyn all that time. So someone else was paying the mortgage, the maintenance, and I was making a little profit each month. You can watch this video up here to find out why I moved to Tokyo. And that brings me to my next bullet point of advice. It has been my experience that real estate can be a very good investment. You for sure have to do your homework on all kinds of things. Mortgages, what neighborhoods are on the upswing, but it can be a great way to make some money. If you buy at a good time, ride the inevitable up and down waves of real estate markets, you should be able to make a nice profit. If you have the extra money to afford a duplex or an apartment where you don't mind having a roommate, then you can do what I believe is termed mortgage or rent hacking, whereby you lower or reduce your overhead to zero by passing those costs along to a roommate or a renter. In my case, we rented out for a number of years, survived the Lehman crisis, and when we did decide to sell in late 2014, it has turned out to be a good time to have sold, as it was a nice peak in the real estate market. One other quick point about real estate that I'd like to make. Owning property can give you leverage. It's essentially the ability to borrow more money even though you owe what might feel to you like a lot of money, assuming the real estate you own has gone up in value. There's more to it than that, but the point I want to make, you can leverage your asset, borrow against it, and then use that additional money to invest. And if that new investment brings in more than the interest on the leverage loan, then it might be worth thinking about and help put you on a pathway towards early retirement. Now, I'm no financial planner and I'm not trying to tell you that I am, but I've bought and sold 2 properties in the United States, and my wife and I own 2 properties in Tokyo that we now rent out. So, personally speaking, real estate as an investment has been very good for us. So if our story leads to you buying a property that helps you to retire early, then great. This video has meant something. After a couple of years in Japan, I landed a great job at an international school and began to put down roots. I worked there for 16 years. And during that time, Tomo and I paid off the loan on the New York apartment, maxed out my 401k deposits each year, and bought a home of our own to live in Tokyo. We may have started off in an old run-down apartment when we first started living together, but we were pretty thrifty and we saved as much as we could. Tomo eventually landed a great job herself, and that meant we had two very nice incomes. A few years later, we were able to qualify for another loan, purchased an additional house, which we have been renting out since we bought it. We've made a few investments in both private companies and some online trading, and have done decently with both. After we sold the New York apartment in 2014, we ended up buying a house in California in early 2015 in the Central Coast area. At the time, we were thinking we might one day retire there. We immediately started renting it out, and a few years later, remodeled the basement and turned it into a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit. That was an extremely financially and emotionally stressful time in our lives. And I would not recommend attempting to execute a remodel of any property unless you are in the area and have the ability to drop by there once a week, if not every day. But we survived that 2-year-plus drama, and soon after retirement, we sold the house in California, and that has become our nest egg. I have my 401k to tap into years down the road, hopefully, a bit of Social Security, and hopefully our other investments will bear fruit. Tomo is working remotely from here, and that helps us out a lot and extends our runway. Supporting myself since the age of 18 has taught me a lot, especially in the area of finances and saving. I learned my lesson on the dangers of credit card debt, and luckily was able to get out early enough that it didn't damage me long term. So here I am, 57, and possibly some of you are saying, you quit at your best earning years. And my response to you is, so what? I can tell you without hesitation that I am so much happier living in Thailand, this smaller life, spending so much more time with my wife and our dogs, going to yoga frequently, and building my little YouTube hobby. And frankly, I don't know if I've ever been happier in my life than I have been these last 7 months. And yes, money can make life a lot easier, but study after study has shown that it doesn't guarantee it. And after a certain point, happiness peaks, flattens out, or even declines, as financial gains might continue upward. I will often turn to Tomo, or she to me, and say, hey, guess what? We live here. It's become this cute inside joke between the two of us, and never fails to put a smile on our face. So if exotic retirement is written on your coffee cup, hold to it firmly. Make decisions that move you forward toward that goal. Fear not the outside risks or noise of others. Your path is just that, yours. Walk it bravely and without apology. I have more to say, but I'm going to let you ponder that for now. In making videos like this, my goal is to inspire people to follow their dream, their path. Please hit the like button on your way out so that others have the opportunity to view this video as well. Your comments and encouragements for us are additionally very much appreciated. We recently visited the beautiful and unique island of Copenhagen, and I'm very excited to edit and share those videos with you. If you're not yet a subscriber, please join us. We'd love to have you, and check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Until next week, see ya.